Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As promised, here I am with a video on how I made this delicious anniversary dinner for my husband and I. Trust me, this was so amazing. So if you would like to see how I created this dish, stay tuned. So I'm going to show you how I make my own garlic butter. It's pretty simple, very simple. So what I did is I took some butter and I just popped it in the microwave for like 15 seconds so it can melt and I can just press it down together. Next, I don't mind using the same spoon in my garlic because garlic always go with butter for me. So I'm just gonna take about 1.5 teaspoons of garlic, and I'm going to mix this up to make sure it gets evenly distributed. And this is so good for like stuff like steak, pork chops, like basically anything I put butter on. This would definitely be something good to have. So now I'm just adding some parsley, add a little bit more, and then just mix all of this up together. Bring this back so it looks so smooth, so creamy, and everything is blend so well together. There we go. Ta-da! Here you have your garlic and parsley butter. So these are the seasonings that I use to put on the steak. So we have salt, garlic powder, black pepper, and cayenne. Now this is what I like to use on my steak. Don't tell me, oh, it's only supposed to be salt and pepper. I love a seasoned steak, and so this is what I like to use. So I'm just mixing that around so that everything can be well blended together. And now I'm just applying it directly on to the steaks. So my seasoning is already on my steaks. So here I am just rolling them around in the seasoning because I just want to make sure that all parts of my steak is well seasoned. So I'm going to do that for all 4 steaks and then set them aside until I'm ready to use them. So next I'm going to season my shrimp. I'm going to use some of the same seasoning I used from the steak. And I'm going to use some seafood seasoning. Just going to add that right into the bowl. Next, I'm going to use some lemon pepper because I did not add lime directly to my shrimp. I didn't want it to be too limey, so I'm going to use lemon pepper instead. And now I'm going to add some more cayenne because we love spice. So I already mixed up the seasoning, and now I'm just going to add that directly onto my shrimp. I'm going to do it in portions because I don't want to pour the bowl of seasoning directly onto the shrimp because I don't want it to be overly seasoned. So I'm going to do it in portions until I feel like I have enough. Just mixing that up to see if I need to add any more seasoning to it. So there I go, adding some more. And I'm just going to mix it up again. And then I'm just going to put that to the side until I am ready to fry the shrimp. So next, I am going to show you how I prepare my asparagus. So I just take one out of the bunch and I gently bend it so that that hard piece can break off. And instead of me doing that for every one, I just place it right back into the bunch and then I cut where that one broke. And then I just cut all of those ends off and I put them into the garbage because you don't need to use them. And then I'll just take all of them out, spread them out, and go and wash them so I can prep them for seasoning and for baking. So now I have already washed them and I put them into a pan. So I'm going to add olive oil directly onto the asparagus because this is what's going to help it to roast and not steam. And then I'm going to add black pepper and a little bit of salt. And now that I'm done with that, I'm just going to mix them up and make sure that the oil, salt, and black pepper is evenly distributed and that, all of the asparagus get some of that goodness, get some of that loving. So I'm just going to make sure that they're flat because if they stack up on top of each other, they are going to steam instead of roast. So make sure that your asparagus are laying flat directly on to the pan. So next I'm going to cut up my potatoes into medium sizes because I don't want them too big, not too small, because they will wither down once they cook. So here I am just cutting up these potatoes. I'm going to show you the size that I cut them into. So now that that's done, I'm going to add some black pepper, salt, and cayenne pepper with a little bit of olive oil to the potatoes. And then I'm going to mix that up because I will be roasting these potatoes. So now I'm about to roast the potatoes before I bake them. I already added some olive oil into a hot pan, and now I'm going to add that garlic butter with the oil because I just want to make sure that my potatoes are really flavored. So I'm gonna let this simmer down, and then I'm going to add my potatoes in. So now I'm just adding my potatoes into the butter and oil because I want to make sure that they get the golden brown color and that they cook a little bit before I actually put them into the baker. So here I'm just making sure that all of the potatoes are directly onto the pan so that they can actually cook, because I know this is a smaller pan, so I just want to make sure that they are evenly cooked well. So now the potatoes have been cooking for about 6 to 8 minutes, and I'm just tossing them around in the pan so that I'm just trying to get all of the sides of potatoes to cook, because we don't want to burn them. We don't want them to stick to the pan. We just want them to get a little bit crispy before we pop them into the baker. So here I am just tossing them around. And then I'm going to add them into the baking pan. I didn't add any butter or oil to the baking pan because the potatoes are already buttery and oily. So I'm just going to make sure that they are all basically getting direct heat. They're going to be getting direct heat from the pan. So I'm just making sure that they're laying flat. So I'm just doing that. And then I am going to put these straight into the baker. So now I am going to get started on my steak. I already put a little bit of olive oil into the pan, and I made sure that it heated up a good much because I don't want my steaks to steam. I want them to fry. I love a good char on a steak. So I want to make sure that this first side is going to get that burnt but not burnt look. Don't judge me. I am a beginner. I never claimed to be this big time chef. So I'm just going to press them into the pan just to make sure that the steak cooks well. So now it's been cooking for about, I think, 6 minutes. And now I'm going to flip them over so that the other side can cook. And now I am going to add that delicious garlic butter into the pan with my steaks so that it can get all of that juicy flavor so that my steaks don't be dry. And I'm just going to add that into all of the corners so that so it can be all around the steak, because I really want my steak to be juicy. I want it to be full of juices, full of flavor. So I'm just going to add this in all corners of the pan. So now that that's done, I am going to add some fresh thyme and rosemary right directly onto the butter so that when the butter melts, that flavor can go into that butter and then go into my steaks. So I'm just gonna place the thyme in the same corners that I placed the butter and just make sure that this steak is juicy. Don't you see like how the butter is melting and it just makes everything just look so good? Trust me, this smells so amazing. I couldn't wait to eat this. So now I am going in with the rosemary. I don't really like rosemary, so I'm not putting a lot of rosemary into my steaks, okay? I don't like it. Don't judge me. That is my preference. So now the butter is melting down. I'm just going to jiggle the pan a little bit, make me feel like a little chef. So I am now going to use a spoon and go directly into that butter, and I'm going to put that onto the steaks so that all sides of the steaks can get the juice, not just the bottom or the sides. I want all parts of my steaks to be juicy. So I'm just going to apply that heated butter directly onto my steaks while the other side cooks. Don't be afraid to put the thyme and the rosemary on the steaks. It will help with the flavor. So make sure you get some of that on top of your steaks as well. Yum! So now that has been cooking for about 6 minutes as well, I will flip these over. Now, my steaks are not burnt. I don't care what y'all say. My steaks aren't burnt, but they did char a little bit more than the other two because I just realized that I had that part of the pan more on the heat than I did the other part of the pan. So now I'm just using that same butter. I love the fact that, it kind of, I wouldn't want to say caramelized, but whatever the word is. I just love the fact that, it cooked with the steaks, and I'm going to use that butter and put it on the other side. Like I said, don't be scared to put the thyme and the rosemary on the steaks because they will help with the flavor, the overall flavor of your steak. And let me tell y'all that these steaks were the business, okay? So I flipped my steaks over again, and as you can see, after I adjusted the heat, all of the steaks look evenly cooked at the right temperature. So now I'm just adding butter directly on to my steak. So this is the same garlic parsley, but I'm adding directly onto my steaks because once again, like I said, I love a juicy steak. So you want to make sure that you are getting as much flavor and juices into these steaks as possible. So once I'm done putting the butter onto the steaks, I am going to use the heated butter that's already cooked down with the steaks and put that directly onto the steaks so that it can help to not only melt that butter, but you still have that rosemary and thyme flavor going through that cooked butter. So now that I'm done with that, I am going to take the steaks out and let them rest until I am ready to cut into these babies, okay? So now my potatoes have been baking for a while. They're done. Well, not quite because I just want to add some more flavor into my potatoes. So I added some more of that garlic butter and a little bit more of fresh garlic into a pan. I'm going to let that heat up because what I'm going to do is add my potatoes back into this heated butter so that they can have that flavor, and as well as because I baked it without a cover, they get a little bit dry. They're not totally dry because I had them in oil and butter before, but they are drier than I would like them. So I'm just going to add them back to this garlic butter so that that flavor and that juiciness can be added right back into these potatoes. So now I'm just going to pick this pan up and I'm going to add them to the butter. And once I do that, I am just going to stir them around so that they can all get some of this juicy goodness. So if you're anything like me, I love to clean as I go. I absolutely hate cooking in a dirty kitchen. So I always tend to wipe down and clean as I go so that I can feel comfortable while I'm cooking. So this is what you see me doing here, wiping on the stove, putting things away that I'm no longer using. So, and then here I am with the little chef jiggle, make me feel like a real chef. And adding some salt into my potatoes just to make sure that they are very flavorful. So now I am just going to take these out of the pan and then set them aside because now they are really done. So now I'm going to get started on my blackened Cajun shrimp, whatever you want to call it, because I don't really know. But I just made sure to add some more of that garlic butter and fresh garlic into a pan. And I made sure that the fire was really hot because I want the seasoning on the shrimp to blacken the shrimp. So once you have like that hot fat, hot butter, the seasonings will kind of burn, not give you a burnt flavor, but they'll darken. So here I am adding the shrimp directly into that butter. And I am going to make sure that I add the shrimp in a way where all of the shrimp are directly touching the pan so that they can cook evenly and so that they all can get that dark blackened look and get the flavor of that garlic butter on them. Now, I forgot to do a video or take a picture of how it looked afterwards, after I cooked them, but you will see how they came out at the end of this video once you see me placing them directly onto the steak. But yeah, I'm just gonna make sure add all of the shrimp in, and then I think I cooked these for maybe a minute. No, maybe 2 minutes. Maybe 2 minutes on each side. I don't like overdone shrimp. I like my shrimp to be nice and juicy. I don't like chewy shrimp. So I didn't cook them too long on each side. So I just added a little bit more butter because I found that the middle of my pan didn't have enough. And I really want like my shrimp to taste good and juicy. So I'm just gonna make sure that the butter is evenly distributed around the pan. And I'm just gonna let that cook. So I promise that we are almost done. I just want to thank you all for staying tuned. For those who kept watching straight throughout, thank you, thank you, thank you. So my asparagus are already baked. They're nice. They're ready to go. However, I wanted to make cheesy asparagus. So I made a mozzarella and Parmesan cheese mix. And I'm just adding that directly onto my asparagus. Even the little ones down to the bottom there, just to make sure they have some cheese. And then I'm just going to pop this right back into the baker. So here are my rested steaks. I think they look so beautiful. And I just love the fact that I can still see that garlic butter just where I placed them at the end. So disclaimer, I don't know if I'm using the right knife to cut these steaks. Like I said, I'm not cooking for a restaurant. I'm not cooking for a group of people. I'm cooking for my husband and I. So yeah, don't comment on my steak cutting skills, and don't comment on the knife that I am using because 2-to-1 it probably is the wrong knife anyway. But I'm just cutting these up because honestly, I hate when I go to a restaurant when I have to cut up my own steak because I just want to bite and I just want to chew my steak, bite and chew, okay? So here's the finished product after I cut them up. And here is my cheesy asparagus. Yes, Lord. And the moment we've all been waiting for, the plating. Dun, 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 dun. I absolutely hate plating. Don't get me wrong. Like, I don't like plating because I don't feel as though I have all the things the people them is used to make their plates look good. So I'm just doing what it is that I want to do. So here I am placing my potatoes down in no really particular way. I'm just putting them down in enough like portion size that I feel as though my husband would eat. And then I am going to add my cut up steak at a slant because I wanted to still make it look, presentable, a little good or whatever. So next I am going to add that cheesy asparagus directly on the side of the plate, just so that it can be, visual in this thing. Yeah, I think I cooked my asparagus a little bit too long, but that's fine. My husband don't like chewy vegetables anyway, so that was perfect for him. Next, I'm going to add my chimichurri cousin sauce. And I say cousin because I did not have any fresh basil or parsley, but I did have the ones in the bottle. So I just use them instead of the real things because I wanted to add a nice sauce to my steak. So here is the blackened Cajun shrimp. This is how it came out. Trust me, they were so juicy and delicious. Like, I literally would have just eat a plate of those aside from the steak. Even though the steak was nice, I just love shrimp. I love seafood. So I just placed them at an angle to make it look pretty. And then here I am adding a little bit of butter. Now I know y'all can tell me about all this butter I put on this food. But trust me, it was so good. Just look at that. Don't you just want to eat that? Come on now. Like, look. Now, what's a steak dinner without some red wine? Come on. Of course, we had to get our wine. Now, I do not know what brand or like what kind of wine this is. I just sent my husband to the store for some wine, and this is what he brought back. And even though he told me that he didn't want any wine, I still had to pour him a glass, and he actually loved it. My husband is absolutely not a wine drinker. So the fact that he drank it spoke volumes. And of course, I had to pour myself more wine than I did him, of course. So here's the completed dish. Oh my gosh. Toast. And voila, here's the finished product. I am so proud of myself for creating this dish. Honestly, I normally don't make the steak. My husband normally does, but I feel as though this came out really good. It was very tasty. It was amazing. He cleaned his plate. But if you are still here, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel because I will be posting more videos.